governments and international financial organizations. This is where I think the big stuff goes on, because their budget now, especially during these emergencies, much bigger than the Congress. So that's why this is a big problem, when they can print money and spend it and never even ask us permission to go out and get involved, I think, in foreign policy. If they're propping up governments and central banks, and they have quid pro quo, we'll give you money, loan money to the central bank, and you do this, and on and on. So it's mostly that, but it's everything that they do on a daily basis. You know, the discount window. For a long time, I would say that there was less information, but I would say in the last 30 years, especially since it's a total fiat currency, they're up to more of the shenanigans, and I think that's why we built the momentum. Of course, the crisis has given us the momentum for audit the Fed.
Now, are there specific ways that your subcommittee chairmanship can give impetus to the audit the Fed movement?
Well, a lot of people think all we have to do is issue a subpoena and they'll have to bring it to us. I wish it were that easy. The first thing is that they told me to write on it. The chairman and chairman of the Federal Reserve and the Secretary of the Treasury are not obligated to go to a subcommittee. They will, of course, it will be my subcommittee that will be seen under the full committee that when Bernanke is required to come twice a year, so we have a little bit a chance, you know, at that time. But no, they will resist us. Even if we pass the law today and pass it in the Senate, and a president would sign it, which is highly unlikely, the Fed is going to resist it. It's going to drag it through the courts for years. We'll probably have our major crisis before we can find out what's in the book. But the more we put pressure on them, and the more they resist, the more we can decide they're trying to hide something, and we should.
WikiLeaks! WikiLeaks!
Senator, you've got the words Tea Party in the title of your book. You're very plugged into the Tea Party. In your experience in interacting with people, do you find that the issue with the Fed and central banking, is this just something that the libertarian wing is focused in on, or are people in the movement more broadly considered getting more interested in this, or is this just not on the radar? What do you find?
You know, I don't think it's a huge front issue for the Tea Party at large. The big issue overall is debt. You know, and debt being inherited, kids and grandkids. But I always tell people that they're intertwined in the sense that we have a central bank because we have a large debt. We have a large debt because we have a central bank. And they go hand in hand. You can't run massive debts like this without a central bank. And Andrew Jackson saw that. I mean, it's been known for a long time that they go hand in hand. I think the audit is a good first step. I think the movement gets big enough that we have ultimate change, though, when we combine the intellectual arguments against central banking, against manipulating interest rates and all of that and what it does to the boom and bust cycle, but we combine that also with the emotional argument of why are select groups of people using central banking to enrich themselves?
Yeah!
How many people are seeking quantitative easing? Question that I'm still looking for an answer to. Why do we have to buy our treasury bonds through Goldman Sachs and not directly from the treasury? I don't know the answer to that. I'm going to ask Tom Woods the question. Why do we have to buy them through Goldman Sachs and not from the treasury?
Yeah, well, forget that question. I'm the one asking the question. Actually, it's a lighter question. Is do you think any of your siblings have political ambitions?
Yeah!
Maybe. I don't know. My little brother gave several speeches. My older brother has been active with Campaign for Liberty, so we'll see.
Oh, well. Now, I think a lot of us know Congressman Paul and his intellectual influences, but we don't know perhaps so much about yours, Senator. So who would you say are the people who have most influenced you, living or dead?
Well, first of all, I have to say I was not named after Ayn Rand.
How many times are they going to repeat that?
Well, still half of the world believes it. So, but I was a fan. It was one of the first set of books that my dad gave me when I was 17.
Yeah!
Big fan of Ayn Rand, and I read that she was a fan of Dostoevsky, and I read Dostoevsky and loved Dostoevsky. I think that, you know, I was thinking today about what we should give some books to the interns that come to the office. And if I were to give 2 books to sort of get people started in reading, I would say Bastiat's The Law.
Much more lowbrow question than that, if you'll permit me. I've always wanted to ask you this, Ron. Ron, you are the perfect gentleman. Anytime you see Ron in a debate, and people are going at him just being vicious and personal, you saw it with Donald Trump today, saying he wouldn't be, yeah, it was bad. What I want to ask you, let's take, for example, something we can all relate to, and you remember well, in 2007, the spat with Rudy Giuliani on the debate stage. And he's basically blaming you for things you never said, accusing you of things you would never say in a million years. Do you ever just think in the back of your mind, like, you dirty SOB? You're just lying.
No, you don't understand how that came about. I asked him to do me a favor, and this was all set up. I try real hard not to respond by when you achieve a whole lot. But, you can get upset at times. But I do work at it, but I don't think I do as good a job as you described, because there are times when I do get annoyed. But I try to separate the personalities from the issues, and even in dealing with the previous president, not the one we have now, it was a little trickier because he's from Texas, he lived almost in my district, and I posed everything he was doing, and he was still rating 7% on my district. So it made common sense for me to, and it's part of my personality, I will attack the issue itself, the war, whether it was Clinton's war, Bush's war, Obama's war, I attacked the war, and not to go after the individual, because I think we lose part of the argument if you...
Yeah!